Have you ever been hurt by someone you loved deeply? Someone who was supposed to be your support system, only to realize they were the ones tearing you apart? Imagine growing up with a person, sharing childhood memories, meals, and family prayers, and then feeling the sting of betrayal from them. It's not just a sting, it sinks deep into your soul. We've been told that blood is thicker than water, but what happens when that very blood turns cold? When a family member betrays you, it's not just a momentary wound, it shakes your very foundation. The world may tell you to forgive, but it never teaches you when to stop allowing others to wound you. Forgiveness is essential, but what if that forgiveness is misused? What if someone continually takes advantage of your kindness, twisting your words and betraying your trust with a smile, assuming you'll always stay? It's time to reclaim your peace and walk away no matter who they are. Family is supposed to be a place of comfort and love. But what happens when those who are closest to you become the ones who hurt you the most? When a sibling betrays you, it's not just the sting of a broken trust. It's a deep wound that makes you question everything you once believed about love, loyalty, and family. The truth is, betrayal from someone who shares your DNA doesn't automatically earn them a free pass to mistreat you. And here's a hard truth. Forgiveness doesn't mean tolerating continuous harm. We've all been taught to forgive 70 times 7, right? But forgiveness does not mean standing still while someone continues to wound you over and over. Forgiveness is about releasing the burden from your heart. But that doesn't mean allowing the same betrayal to continue in your life. When someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, belittles your dreams, and manipulates your trust, they aren't acting out of love, they are acting out of control. There are siblings who take your loyalty for granted. You defend them, sacrifice for them, and think they'll be there for you when you need them most. But instead, they take advantage of your kindness, twist your words, and manipulate your trust all while wearing a smile. They confuse your love with weakness. And when you finally draw a line in the sand, they turn it all around and paint you as the villain. But in reality, you were the one who got tired of silently bleeding. Let me say this clearly. Repeated disrespect from a sibling is not something you should excuse simply because you're related. It doesn't matter if you've shared a dinner table for 20 years, if they are tearing down your spirit. It's time to stop letting them destroy your peace. You can still love someone from a distance. You can pray for them and wish them well. But that doesn't mean you should allow them access to your soul. Loving them with boundaries doesn't make you heartless, it makes you whole. There are betrayals that should be forgiven in silence, but never forgotten. Wisdom comes in knowing when to walk away. Family was meant to be a blessing, not a battlefield. The people God places in our lives are meant to help us rise, not drag us down with guilt and manipulation. If your sibling chooses pride over peace, control over compassion, and disrespect over relationship, you're not the problem. You're the one who finally saw the truth. It's time to reclaim your peace. You are not obligated to stay in a toxic situation just to keep the family photo looking perfect. God cares more about the soul ties you protect than the blood ties you maintain. You are responsible for your peace, for the atmosphere in your heart, and God can restore anything. But restoration begins with honesty. Sometimes, honesty means accepting that a relationship hasn't been mutual for a long time. Love them, but love them with eyes wide open. Love them with discernment. When someone continuously disrespects you and expects you to tolerate it simply because you're family, they're not asking for forgiveness, they're asking for permission to keep wounding you. Let this be the moment you stop confusing loyalty with being a doormat. You were never meant to carry that weight alone. God did not create you for silent suffering. He created you for freedom, joy, and love, the kind that doesn't come with manipulation, guilt, or control. If you've been battling guilt about walking away, hear this. You are not wrong. You are not heartless. You are finally healing. And sometimes, healing means letting go. As we discussed before, Betrayal from a family member is not just painful, it's a deep wound that shakes your very foundation. And when that betrayal comes from someone you grew up with, someone who was supposed to be your biggest supporter, the pain is multiplied. You trusted them, believed they'd always be there for you, but instead, they turned against you. It's a hurt that only a family member can inflict, because they were never meant to be the ones who break you. It's easy to think that blood is thicker than water, but let me tell you something. Even blood can poison you when the heart behind it turns cold. When someone who shares your DNA betrays you, it doesn't just sting, it sinks deep into your soul. It makes you question everything, not just about them, but about your entire understanding of love and loyalty. But here's the hard truth. A sibling may not always say it out loud, but their actions speak volumes. They may smile in your face, but behind your back, they could be measuring your blessings against their own. And when they find themselves lacking, they don't rejoice with you, they resent you. Jealousy doesn't shout, it whispers. And when it gets into the heart, it tears down everything in its path. A jealous sibling is dangerous, not just because of the things they say, but because of the things they do. They belittle your successes, they mock your efforts, and they speak negativity over your life just to make themselves feel better. This isn't love, this is sabotage. It's betrayal disguised as family. God does not bless you to be punished by those closest to you. Your breakthrough, your growth, your elevation, those are not sins. But to someone with a heart twisted by envy, your rise feels like their fall. Instead of running their own race, they begin plotting against yours. They tear you down in silence, with a smile on their face, pretending everything is fine. But deep down, you feel it. You know it. Betrayal has a way of echoing in your spirit long after the words have been said. Have you tried to ignore it? Perhaps you've convinced yourself that they didn't mean it, that it's just insecurity, stress, or immaturity. But let me be clear. When someone actively works against your calling, when they sow doubt, spread rumors, or pull others away from you, they're not struggling, they're sabotaging. And that is betrayal you don't have to forgive into closeness. Some might say, but they're your sibling, you're supposed to stick together. And yes, we are supposed to stick together, but not at the cost of your calling, your mental peace, or your purpose. What good is walking together if one person is secretly poisoning the other? What good is peace on the outside when your spirit is at war within? God did not call you to suffer for the sake of appearances. He called you to walk in truth, and sometimes that truth exposes even the darkest corners of family. There are people who cannot handle your glow because it reminds them of their shadows, and instead of facing their own darkness, they try to dim yours. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone your light. You don't have to shrink to make someone else feel secure. You don't have to apologize for being chosen, for being blessed, for being elevated. If your sibling can't celebrate you, that's a reflection of their heart, not yours. I know it hurts. I know it's confusing because you didn't ask for competition. You wanted connection. You didn't ask for rivalry. You wanted relationship. But sometimes, family becomes a battlefield. And when that happens, it's not your job to fix it alone. You pray, you forgive, you heal, but you also protect your spirit. Sabotage disguised as love is still sabotage. Jealousy disguised as concern is still a curse waiting to be spoken. So today, walk in the truth of who you are. Stop hiding your victories because someone else can't handle them. Stop explaining your joy, dimming your smile, holding back your testimony. God brought you through too much for you to play small now. If the people closest to you can't clap for you without conditions, then they were never really standing with you at all. Let them wrestle with their own reflection. Let them face the jealousy in their heart sits, not your burden to carry. Your job is to keep walking in the light God gave you. If this message resonated with you, I want to encourage you to subscribe and join our community of strength and healing. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Let us know how you've been able to overcome betrayal and reclaim your peace. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Keep shining. As we talked about before, betrayal from a sibling isn't just a sting, it shakes you to your core, especially when that person was supposed to be your biggest supporter. You grew up together, shared meals, memories, and childhood prayers. But what happens when those bonds break? Betrayal from family hits harder because they were never meant to be the ones who tear you down. It's easy to think that blood is thicker than water, but let me tell you, even blood can poison you when the heart behind it turns cold. When someone who shares your DNA betrays you, it's not just painful, it sinks deep. It makes you question everything, not just about them, but about yourself and the love you once shared. But here's the hard truth. A sibling may not always say it out loud, but their actions speak louder than words. They may smile in your face, but behind your back, they measure your blessings against their own. When they find themselves lacking, they don't rejoice with you, they resent you. Jealousy whispers. It doesn't scream. And when jealousy gets in the heart, it can tear down everything in its path. A jealous sibling doesn't always show it openly, but they'll belittle your successes, mock your efforts, and speak negativity over your dreams. They do this to make themselves feel bigger, to keep you small. That's not love. That's sabotage. That's betrayal disguised as family. God doesn't bless you to be punished by those closest to you. Your growth, your breakthrough, your elevation, those are not sins. But for someone with a heart twisted by envy, your rise feels like their fall. Instead of running their own race, they start plotting against yours. Instead of building with you, they tear you down in silence, pretending everything is fine, but you feel it. You know it. Betrayal has a way of echoing in your soul long after the words have been spoken. Have you tried to overlook it? Maybe you convinced yourself that it's just how they are, that they didn't mean it. But deep down, you felt the cost. You felt the grief of not just losing their trust, but the version of yourself that once believed in their loyalty. That wound is real. And that's why betrayal like this is something you don't forget, because it teaches you something sacred. Not everyone close to you can handle the weight of your truth. Some people think that forgiveness means allowing someone back in as they were before. But true wisdom says otherwise. It says, I forgive you, but I cannot trust you the same way again. That's not hate. That's protection. It's the wisdom God gives us to guard what's holy within us. Don't let guilt trick you into silence or convince you that you were wrong for opening up. You were right to love. You were right to trust. What they did was wrong, but your heart was pure. Your vulnerability is still a gift, even if they mishandled it. Just because someone didn't know how to value your openness doesn't mean you should stop opening up. It means you need to learn who's truly worthy of your deepest parts. Who's proven, not just said that they'll cover you, not expose you. Some might say, but it's your sibling. Shouldn't you try again? Only if the fruit is changed. Only if repentance has taken root and there's real transformation. Otherwise, you're just walking barefoot on broken glass, hoping this time it won't hurt. That's not faith, that's folly. God wants you healed, not stuck in cycles that break your heart over and over again. So if you've been carrying that betrayal, let me tell you, it's not your fault. You don't have to pretend it didn't happen just to keep the family bond intact. If a sibling has used your pain to shame you, you have every right to set a boundary. You can love them, but you no longer have to give them access to the softest parts of you. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And sometimes, clarity is the first step to healing. As we dive into the next part, let's explore how to heal from this kind of betrayal, how to protect your spirit and set boundaries while still loving others. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. You are not alone in this journey. Let's continue moving forward together. As we talked about before, betrayal doesn't always come with loud words or dramatic actions. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the absence of support and through subtle resentment. The truth is, betrayal from family doesn't have to be loud to hurt. It can be wrapped in silence, in moments where you expected love but received nothing. Let me tell you something today. You are not bitter for feeling hurt by their silence. You are not wrong for remembering the moments they didn't show up. That pain is real, and that disappointment is valid. You don't have to carry resentment forever, but you don't have to pretend like nothing happened. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending they stood up for you when they didn't. It doesn't mean erasing the moments that changed how you saw them. Sometimes, forgiveness means finally telling the truth to yourself that they could have done more, that they should have done more. Some people might say, maybe they didn't know what to say. But silence in the face of wrongdoing is not confusion. It's consent. When you stay silent while the wrong voices speak, you betray the right ones. You don't need to scream or start a fight, but you can speak up. You can say, this isn't right. You can stand up for the one being torn apart and refuse to laugh at the jokes that mock them. You can stop the gossip, you can refuse to be silent, and you can protect what's right. If you've been wounded by that silence, hear this. Your worth is not determined by who stood with you. Your value isn't lost because others didn't defend it. God saw what happened. He heard the words they never said, and He is still fighting for you. Let that be your peace. If a sibling stands by while the world tears you down, they've already made their choice. There's a particular sting that cuts deeper than most: the betrayal of success. The people who should celebrate you, the ones who should be your biggest supporters, quietly resent you when you walk in your purpose. When God begins opening doors in your life, when blessings start flowing, some siblings don't say, "I'm proud of you." They say nothing at all. Or worse, they tear you down behind your back. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your rise makes their insecurities louder. Not every betrayal is loud. Not every dagger comes with a scream. Some come wrapped in silence, sarcasm, and subtle jealousy. You start noticing the shift. They stop asking how you're doing, not because they're busy, but because they don't want to hear how well you're doing. They distance themselves when you rise. They make sly remarks when others praise you. The more you grow, the colder they become. That's a betrayal that's hard to talk about because, on the surface, it looks like nothing. But deep inside, you know something sacred has changed. It's hard, isn't it? When you used to share your dreams with them, when you thought they'd always be the first to cheer you on, the first to show up when it was your turn to shine. But now, you stand on your mountaintop, and the people you thought would celebrate with you are nowhere to be found. That loneliness is overwhelming. You didn't just want success, you wanted to share it. You didn't just want progress, you wanted them to be proud. But sometimes, the very ones who should rejoice with you turn away when the spotlight touches you. What's worse? Some will try to downplay what God is doing in your life. They'll say, "You changed," when in truth, it's their perception that changed. You didn't change. You just grew. You stepped into the calling God placed on your life, and instead of being inspired, they became threatened by it. When jealousy enters a sibling's heart, love starts to fade. What once was admiration becomes comparison. What once was unity becomes competition. Suddenly, you're not just fighting for your dreams, you're fighting to protect your peace. And that is the part many people don't want to admit. Sometimes your biggest critics carry your last name. Sometimes, the ones who sabotage you aren't far away. They are the ones who have known you since childhood and can't stand that God chose to bless you in ways they didn't expect. But that's not your fault. You are not responsible for their jealousy. You are not responsible for their insecurities. It's not your job to shrink your light so others can feel comfortable in the dark. You were never meant to bury your calling just because someone else feels threatened by it. God's favor on your life is not up for negotiation. It's not based on your family's approval. If your siblings' love couldn't survive your breakthrough, it wasn't rooted in truth to begin with. Real love doesn't resent. Real love rejoices. Real love says, I'm happy for you, even if I'm not where you are. Real love doesn't compete. It completes. But when a sibling can't handle your success, they reveal more about their heart than your journey. Maybe you've wrestled with guilt. Maybe you've wondered if you should downplay your blessings. Maybe you've tried to make yourself smaller just to keep the peace. But hear this, never dim the fire God lit in you just because someone else refuses to fan their own. You are not responsible for how they handle your elevation. You are only responsible for walking humbly with what God gave you. I'm not saying this to stir bitterness. I'm saying this so you can walk in freedom. If you've been betrayed by a jealous sibling, you need to know it wasn't your fault. You don't have to keep proving yourself to them. You don't have to keep apologizing for your growth. You can grieve the relationship that used to be and still choose to rise anyway. Because sometimes peace means accepting that not everyone you love will love the version of you that God is shaping. So bless them, love them, but don't let their silence steal your joy. Don't let their distance make you doubt your direction. Because God didn't lift you to impress people. He lifted you to fulfill purpose. And anyone who truly loves you will celebrate the hand of God on your life even if they don't fully understand it. Now, as we continue to explore the path to healing, let's look at how to protect your peace and rise above jealousy and sabotage. Stay with me as we dive deeper into embracing your purpose with clarity and strength. As we discussed earlier, some betrayals don't start with words or actions. They start with access. They begin when you open your heart, your home, and your life to someone you trust, only for them to use that very trust against you. And when that betrayal comes from a sibling, it feels like the deepest cut. You thought blood meant loyalty, family meant safety. But then, one day, you turn around, and the person you trusted the most has taken what was sacred and used it to hurt you. This type of betrayal cuts deep not because it came from a stranger, but because it came from someone you never expected. You offered help, and they turned it into leverage. You gave them a seat at your table, and they turned it into a place of gossip. You shared your burdens, your fears, your secrets, and instead of keeping them safe, they exposed them sometimes out of spite, sometimes out of envy, sometimes just to gain favor with others. And there you are, sitting in shock, wondering how someone so close could turn so cold. There's something especially painful about being betrayed by someone you tried to help. It's not just about what they did, it's about the shock of who did it. You ask yourself, was it my fault? Did I trust too much? Did I miss the signs? Sometimes there are no clear answers. Sometimes your love blinded you to their resentment. You were trying to carry them, but instead they were secretly watching you, waiting for the cracks in your armor. It's not just about what they did, it's how calculated it was. They knew what mattered most to you. They knew who you loved. They knew your vulnerabilities. And still, they crossed that line. They brought division where there was once unity. They spread the things you shared in confidence. Used the trust you placed in them to manipulate others, not because you were careless, but because you were honest, real, and vulnerable. And they took that gift and turned it into a weapon. That kind of betrayal isn't easy to bounce back from. It doesn't just make you doubt them, it makes you doubt everyone. You start building walls. You stop letting people in. Stop talking about your struggles, dreams, and fears. Because now you know sometimes. The one you're protecting might be the one preparing to wound you. The silence you slip into isn't peace, it's survival. It's the kind of silence that says, I'd rather be alone than be betrayed again. Maybe you're listening now and recalling a time when you gave, and they took and took. You helped them out of a hole, only for them to dig one for you. You defended them in rooms where they later spoke against you. You stayed up praying for them while they plotted against your peace. It's hard to talk about, isn't it? Who would believe that a sibling your own flesh and blood could be so cold, so cunning, so ungrateful? But hear me clearly. Just because they betrayed you doesn't mean you were wrong to love them. It doesn't mean you should regret your kindness. You don't have to harden your heart to protect it. You just have to be wise. And wisdom says, I can forgive you, but I won't give you that access again. Wisdom says, I can wish you well, but I will no longer hand you the keys to my life. Wisdom knows the difference between helping someone and enabling them to destroy what's good in you. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means releasing what happened into the hands of a God who sees everything. It means saying, I won't let your betrayal become my prison. It means healing without reopening the door. Reconciliation is beautiful, but it's not always possible, and it's never forced. Some people will never own up to the pain they caused. They'll keep smiling, keep pretending, and you'll be tempted to question your memories. But the truth is, you don't need their confession to find closure. You just need clarity. Clarity that says, what you did was not okay, and I don't have to hate you to move on, but I don't have to trust you again. Clarity that says, family is supposed to protect, not exploit. Just because we share a last name doesn't mean I have to keep giving you first access to my life. Clarity gives you the courage to let go, not with bitterness, but with boundaries. If that betrayal still lingers in your heart today, if the memory of what they took from you still stings, know this: God is not blind to the injustice. He saw it, He knows it, and He will restore what was broken. He will honor your heart. He will bring peace where there was pain. Let them go, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. As we wrap up this chapter, remember this: you are worthy of love, trust, and peace. No one has the right to take that from you. Keep walking in the light that God gave you, and don't let anyone dim your shine. If this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Join our community of strength, healing, and encouragement. Leave a comment below to share your journey, because you're not alone. Keep walking in faith, keep walking in freedom, and remember, your peace is worth protecting.